Hello everybody, it's vanburman here. Welcome back to another video, and in line with my new format, we're going to take a look at the case, manual, that kind of thing, for the game I'm going to be doing a playthrough slash review of, and that is Kessen 2. For those of you that don't know anything about Kessen, I will describe very briefly what I do know, which is not a lot. And that is that Kessen 1 came out as a launch title for the PS2, not something I was aware of until after the fact. It wasn't a game I had. In fact, my first game for the PS2 was Pro Evolution Soccer 2. So yeah, kind of different. And then we had Kessen 2 come out, and then Kessen 3. There was no more Kessens made. The first and the third focus on mostly the feudal period of Japan, like one pre-Nobu Oda Nobunaga, and then one with Oda Nobunaga in, I think, can't remember what the first, can't remember what the name is of the one of the first game is based on. But anyway, very like cool, innovative console games, particularly when strategy and big strategy games, I guess, were a lot more difficult to come by on the PlayStation games. This is also sort of kind of akin, or my sort of way into it was through playing Dynasty Warriors, I think it would have been 2, and only basing that on the fact of, actually when we get to it, when we have a look at the manual, I think it's got Dynasty Warriors 3, or might be 4 on the back of the manual. But anyway, so yeah, that's just something of interest. And the second one is based on the Three Kingdoms period of Chinese folklore slash history. It's kind of like a romanticised history, is probably the best way I can describe it. I'm fairly au fait with the Three Kingdoms period of Chinese history. Have and read the books, TV series, and I believe most of the films that have come out. I don't want to say all, because there may be one or two that have slipped the net. Now, this particular game was a story on a story, so in an alternative world where the Three Kingdoms happened differently and had slightly different characters and different subplots, but the main subplot of the Three Kingdoms, or the main plot of the Three Kingdoms, is kind of all there in here. So you do, if you are a big scholar of the Three Kingdoms period, this game might upset you a little bit. However, if you're happy just to enjoy it for what it is, then it's well worth playing in terms of a strategy game. Now, this copy is not the one I've had for many years. The one I've had for many years, and doesn't have a manual in it, which I didn't realise. So I went out and got myself one that does have a manual. Now, I could have taken the manual out of this one and put it in my copy, but there's some interesting stuff about this one, other than the fact it's absolutely filthy, is that apparently it got a Strategy Game of the Year for the PlayStation 2. Does it say what year? No, it doesn't. But IGN gave it Strategy Game of the Year. And I don't really know how many strategy games were coming out per year for the PlayStation 2, but I think it's a very good game. That's my like nostalgic hat on, and this is what I kind of want to do for these particular videos. I will also hopefully be using the power of Zoom. Oh, that's it, that's what we've got. So you can see our lovely cast of characters on here, from Shu, Wu, Wei, sorry, and Wu, which, they're not on here, but they are in the game, which is pretty neat, but not playable. I think that's probably the thing to note from this. So developed by Koei, I believe, who also made the Dynasty Warriors games, and published by THQ. Luckily they're still around, sort of, mostly. And yes, more dynamic battles, more dramatic action. So a lot of like cutscenes and cutscene-esque stuff in here, which personally I really love, because a lot of it's very silly, which is pretty nice. So new agent technology, I don't know what agent technology means, but 500 soldiers on screen at once, 5 times more than the original. Now the original was like a pretty big deal to have like over 100 little people on screen at one time. And if you think about like the Total War games and that kind of thing, that was just about when Rome was out, Rome probably, maybe. Yeah, probably fits in there quite well. You know, that had potentially also a lot of characters on screen, but that was on PC, sorry, which has the, luxury of having expandable hardware. This is done for a PlayStation 2 that is relatively underpowered, I would suggest, compared to the endless possibilities of the PC game. I don't think this is an original case, actually, looking at it. But anyway, no worries. 3 times the number of stages. Okay, That means it's. Although, is that because you've play both sides? And I don't know. Anyway, maybe. But you do get to besiege castle walls, battle aboard moving ships, and stampede across open plains. That is true. The ships, not so great, and the besieging castle walls is kind of okay, but has its flaws. And we'll probably end up going through that at some point. New weapons, I should hope so. Tactics, troops, including elite horsemen and elephant cavalry. I will be absolutely trying to get the elephant cavalry because they're very interesting. Yes, and I didn't know whether there was... I mean, there must have been elemental attacks in the first one. I just don't think I remember it now. But anyway, at some point, if this series goes on long enough, we'll play Kessen 1. So I get to try and remember that. I just seem to remember it being volleys and that kind of thing. And 8 times the number of event sequences. Yeah, I mean, like, the good thing is, or the great thing about using, like, that period of Japanese history and this period of Chinese history is that there's... and particularly this story itself, there is so many good dynamics and characters in there that you can't, like, I'm going to say you can't do it badly, obviously you can do it badly, but there's enough there to work with that if you make a game good enough, it should help tell itself. The big thing about this game, I guess not really spoilers because it's kind of in the first very much opening of the game, is that Liu Bei is in love with Dao Chan, and if you know anything about the Three Kingdom story, that is completely at odds with what happens. Lu Bu's not in this at all, which might upset some people, but is he alluded to? He's not, and there are some stages where he could have been in it and would have been in it, but yes, you have to think that Liu Bei is like Liu Bei and Lu Bu combined, even though he's not as good as Lu Bu in terms of like battle prowess. So Zhao Yun is obviously a big character, of course he is, style name Zilong, and yes, he plays a, not a huge role, but like an impressive enough role, so much so that he's made it on to the disc as well with his like incredible like dragon minor, well I'm going to say minotaur, but I don't know if it is a minotaur, armour, which is, by the way, like it looks great, and a spear as well, which is good because he did apparently have a spear. And then we get to go, oh, it's obviously a proper PlayStation case, just looks a bit rough around the edges. And then we get the manual. Now this is why I've been waiting so long to do this video, because I wanted to go through the manual. There's nothing more on the case that I particularly want to talk about. It's 11 plus. But yeah, so the great thing about, or one of the reasons I really wanted to do these type of videos sort of comes from the Final Fantasy video I did previously, where we were looking through the, what's it called? The archive, and you know, you get all the like the director's notes and that kind of thing, a bit more world building and a bit more thought into, you know, the wider elements of the story and that kind of thing. And this is in a time when it's now sadly past, where that was done through the medium of the manual, and also teaches you vaguely how to play the game as well, which I don't know, I personally prefer to look and read, but not for everybody. Let me see if I can make this a little bit lighter, because I'm kind of feeling that's not helped at all. Never mind. How about if we do this? No, that's made it worse. Okay, well, it is what it is. So we've got some screenshots from the game. We've got Himiko, who is Cao Cao, but he's called Cao Cao in this game, so I'm going to call him Cao Cao for now, so that we're fully immersing ourselves into Kessen 2 ahead of time. His, well, I wasn't going to say paramour, but she would love to be his paramour, mage, effectively, the Zhuge Liang equivalent, which you would have thought would be Sima Yi, and he is kind of also, but we'll get into that as we play through the game. So we've got setting up, controls, look at your new shiny PlayStation 2. I won't be playing this on PlayStation 2, I'll be playing this on a PlayStation 3, but with the PlayStation 2 hardware in there. Controls, it's all fairly straightforward, and I would say none of it is, it's kind of, because it's a strategy game, it's more of a thinking game rather than actually, you know, precise combat, although not precise manoeuvres, but you know, anyway, more strategic. So we've got Lady Mei Sagnon, who I think he is in the lore, extended lore somewhere. Zhuge Liang, obviously, the probably one of the biggest or most well-known characters in the whole Three Kingdoms, and I can't remember who this is, and I don't think I can pronounce her name, but basically she might be one of the freshly introduced Wei characters. But yes, still, like, quite nice imagery. That's the thing, everything looks, from what I remember, everything looks really nice on this game. Oh, that's very shiny. But I will still try my best to walk through it. If I put my hand over it, does that help? It does a little bit. Let me try moving the light out of the way, because I realise that is very glossy. It's very dark now, but actually that doesn't help with visibility, does it? Because that text is so small. That's all the zoom I've got. And now I can't read it. Ugh, disaster. So, and I don't think I've read this manual, now I come to think about it, because, well, I've seen these scenes. I don't know it in terms of looking like this. So, maybe the better way to do it is handheld. So what have we got? More dynamic, the cluster control engine. I don't know what they used that in, because Kessen 3 was totally different to this. And if they made this whole control engine for one game, that seems a little bit like wasteful almost. But compared to nowadays, anyway. So you have like this kind of layout where you have the general's name, their troops, and then these bars corresponds to their morale or their zeal. It's too small to see really, but you'll be able to see it in the actual game. You get to use magic, so you've got Juge here charging up his fireball, which we'll be seeing a lot of. But what does it say? Creates a real-time atmosphere by showing you progression of battles as if you were actually on the battlefield. I mean, that is true. Take advantage of magic and special abilities. That's half the game that can only be offered in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms story. Kind of. You can have jewels and fireballs in other games, though. It doesn't have to be the Three Kingdoms story, I would argue. And then this is talking about the siege attacks and naval battles, which, yeah, is interesting. I mean, they're only for 1 or 2 levels, so, you know, you never feel nothing ever feels too stagnant, but you are kind of, or I've always, anyway, was looking forward to the land battles once again, because I think they're a bit more interesting. An original drama about love and war. Let's say based. That says based, but it was an E. Gosh, on the premise of the Three Kingdoms story, yeah, I've probably sort of made that. And Koei at this point had been working with making lots of Dynasty Warriors games and that kind of thing. So, although massively then retconning the story for this particular game, but I guess at least they know what they're retconning. I suppose I don't know. A dramatic procession of full audio. I don't know what that means. Full audio 3D animation. Oh, full audio and the 3D animation. And here's the motion capture stuff. Actually pretty cool. I mean, a lot of the CGI cutscenes in it are really good, and the movement feels really natural for the most part. It's obviously quite, how would I describe it? It's very much like some of the films, I guess, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think they did a really good job with that sort of the hybrid between which is what I noticed, that there was a lot of this going on at the time. This like hybrid between the film and the video game. And now we get these really nice layouts with some of the main characters in there, and it gives you a little bit about their particular characters. That's probably definitely the right thing to say. It's funny how like it's called Juge Sima Yi the Unaligned, but clearly they've dressed for the people they want to join, which is quite funny. So we've got Liu Bei himself here, looking very majestic, very heroic. Mei Sanyon, who is a long-term friend of the brothers and Liu Bei, which is great. She's sort of like a hybrid between a magic user and a, warrior class. Kind of like the warriorish abilities. Yeah, she's got like a hybrid mixture. Zhang Fei may or may not know, like very sort of like boisterous drinker, bit brute-headed, that kind of thing. They do a really good job of like bringing that through. One in his visual design and also in how he acts through the game as well, which is quite nice and like fairly true to form in terms of how he's depicted in other media as well, which is great. And they've done that probably quite well across the board as well. So we also have Guan Yu and red hair is also in the game as well. And you actually get the option later to have like Red Riders or something, Elite Red Riders for his unit, which is very cool. And he's portrayed as you would expect, really long beard, strong moral compass, justice, that kind of thing. which is quite nice because it conflicts quite heavily with Zhang Fei, but they're brothers, so they get on. And then we've got Jiao Chan, who is a singer in this, and deeply in love with Liu Bei. Merciful and strong in will. Yes, they were together until something bad happened. And then we have Lili, Mei Mei and Lulu, who are Zhang Fei's daughters in this. And they sort of tag along as like secondary characters within the army of, I think they're in Liu Bei's army, like unit makeup. Mei Sanyon is also in Liu Bei's makeup later on, and then also in Zhang Fei's as well, which just sort of expands those units' abilities as well, which is quite nice. And then we've got Zhuge Liang, Sima Yi, the two like great warlords and strategists of the time. I don't know if I'm ready to say too much about those guys, but we do still follow a similar story with Zhuge Liang, where he makes 3 visits, that kind of thing, and he's like seen as a hermit, very like not prestigious is not the word I'm looking for. Another word, prolific might be another one. And then we have Zhao Yun with his cool guy armor and his spear and all the rest of him. And yeah, basically they sort of touch on, or they do touch on, I guess, Cao Cao's takeover of the Han emperor, and Zhao Yun in this is part of the Imperial Bodyguard and decides to, I guess, kind of switch sides, but he gets kicked out by Cao Cao, basically, which was a bit of a mistake on Cao Cao's part. But anyway, never mind. And then we have the Wei forces here. I don't know if do we have Wu? We do. Okay, cool. That's good to know. So in Cao Cao's forces we have Jun Yu. Some of the characters have been changed in terms of their gender, I believe, but none of it feels like it doesn't make sense for the world, because it's quite gender balanced, which is really nice, and they all feel very legitimate as their own characters. Jun Yu sort of plays the Mei Sanyon version for Liu Bei. You see that mirrored quite a lot here through how they've used the characters, and she's like completely devoted to Cao Cao, and I'm not going to spoil that actually. And then we have Jie Hao Ba, who is Jie Hao Yuan's son. You probably know, or you may know, Jie Hao Ba and Jie Hao Yuan, and do I want to say anything about it? He does respect and desire to be like his father. It's funny actually, because in the real story Jie Hao Ba switches sides from Wei to Shu later on. But yes, anyway, we don't touch on that part of the story at all. And we have Zhang Liao, who, as some of you may know as well, big friend of Lu Bu. Even more funny considering Lu Bu's omission from the game. But yeah, Zhang Liao has a very strong rivalry with Guan Yu, even though it's not, from what I remember, we'll see when I play through it again, it's not sort of explicitly told through the game, but obviously it's not obvious. But Guan Yu effectively enters the servitude of Cao Cao for a bit, and they sort of get on really well and that kind of thing, as well as you can, I suppose. And yeah, Zhang Liao has a bit of a rivalry with Guan Yu later on for going back to Liu Bei. Now we have Himiko, who is a completely new character as far as I'm aware. I've never heard of her in anything else, and yeah, she is like the Zhuge Liang for battle purposes. She has a lot of strong magic attacks, and she's a little bit unhinged, but she is genuinely devoted to Cao Cao. And we have Cao Cao as well, with his once again very cool and elaborate armor, but then he is trying to be the emperor, I suppose, in a sense. Anyway, yeah, and then we have Cao Bu, who is Cao Cao's uncle. He's more of one of the more minor characters. He doesn't, in terms of battle prowess, that kind of thing, plays a smaller role. And then we've got Hu Ji, who I think is effectively the replacement for Zhu Shu in this game, but still interesting. And yeah, like a fairly middling character, tends to have her own unit, that kind of thing, does the duels and all that kind of stuff as well. Oh, that's it. So it's Dong and Zhanfeng. Yeah, so I'm not sure if these are new characters for this particular game, but effectively these three are like ninjas. They're like a ninja corps, effectively, with Yujin, who was a real general. Was he general? General commander in Cao Cao's armies. What that was all about. And yeah, like more comic relief character, if you can gather that by the appearance. But still, like, doesn't say doesn't feel out of place. It only adds to like the story, I guess, and like how goofy things are, or can be at times, which you're going to see more of here. Actually, now I think about it. So we've got a section called "Those Living in Turmoil." So we'll start with Meng Ho and Zhu Rong. Zhu Rong is actually on the other side here. So they're from the Nanman region, and that is the husband and wife. Zhu Rong definitely wears the trousers here, although Hu Meng does have a massive lion, I don't know, body suit or something. And these are the guys who have the elephant troops that you can recruit, I think probably for both sides, I can't remember now. And yeah, that's a very interesting like element itself, because you have to deal with things like poison and that kind of thing. Tropes that are very similar from the Dynasty Warriors games as well. And then we have Ma Chao, and you can kind of guess from the colours which one they're going to join, but actually Kai Wenyi, who I can't remember who that's trying to be. Who is Kai Wenyi, a proper character? I don't know, it's been a long time. Ma Chao is one of, in the real story, I suppose, is one of Liu Bei's five, isn't it? Tiger generals? I don't know, I absolutely butchered everything now. And he joins later on, and he's like really well done in this game. To be fair, it's really well done in lots of the games, but like it's quite interesting how these play in. And as both factions, you can recruit Kai Wenyi, who is great because she's one of those like hybrid warrior mage types as well. So, and Ma Chao's just pretty strong. They've got like him and Ma Dai have. Ma Dai has, who's his brother, has horse archers, which is like an interesting group, like new unit that you get to play around with. And then we've got the West, which is Liu Zhang, who is the owner of Guangdu, right? He is, in Jing province. Yeah. Anyway, he's sort of like caught in the middle of both of them. He doesn't join either. Both sides, you basically have to defeat him. So it's not too much of a spoiler. But yeah, so, and he's quite integral to helping the story be fleshed out, and gives the real twist, I suppose, if you like, in the game, which I'm not going to mention now. And then we have a little, very small amount of detail on the Wu lot. So at this point it is Sun Xuan, or Sun Quan as he's called in this, as leader of Wu, and they are obviously very Navy military. Come on, camera. There we go. Leader, and that's where their territory is down to the south. We have Gan Ning, who is pirate lord or ex-pirate lord, and was very good friends with Sun Ce, who is not in this particular game either. Although so is Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu was also a big friend of Sun Ce as well. But Zhao Yu sort of acts as Sun Quan, Zhuge Liang, Sima Yi. I forgot her name now. Himiko style character, although not fully magic though. But it should be said that a lot of Wu's characters do have small amounts of magic scattered out throughout their roster, not just these people. And then we have Sun Li, who actually, I don't think she is the daughter of Sun Xuan. I can't remember now. I think she's actually Sun Xuan's sister in real life. The character that she's meant to be playing. And she joins Liu Bei, so she's actually goes from blue to green, if you like. And in the real story becomes one of his wives. Not in this one though. Once again, she is very much devoted to Liu Bei. There's lots of like romances, everyone loves each other, or everyone loves Liu Bei and Cao Cao and that kind of thing. So yeah, you're just going to have to get used to it. So then we've got a little bit about what is Kessen 2. So we have, it's actually quite, you know what, I have not seen this manual before. I've not read it anyway. But it sort of gives you an idea of the flow of how the game takes place. So you have a stage start where it sets out the story. We've got one of the He's a narrator that he also did Kessen 3. He's done a load of stuff, but yeah, really good voice for it. And then we have like what the situation is. We then get to enact a political policy, which can give us increased troop numbers or more morale or special abilities, that kind of thing. Then we have the drama, and then we have the war council, where you pick what like vague strategy you're going to go through the battle, and it sometimes allows you to set up traps and that kind of stuff, which is really nice, and how you deploy your special weapons. You then have the battle, and then post-war, where it's like the breakdown, and then what does that say? Stage. There will be no political policy or war council at the first stage. Yes, okay, well that sort of makes sense because you're not established at that point. And yeah, I think everything else is kind of. You do get a little bit of world building in this bit if you want to have a read of that. There's the story, and you can pause it. And there's the purpose. I've kind of tried to explain it. Yeah, you do have to start the same stage again if you lose. Okay, so now I just have some general stuff about how you would start the game, that kind of thing. Nothing revolutionary in there, I don't think. We might have had all the world building stuff. Game controllers, choose political policy. Ah, okay, there you go. It actually gives you some guidance, which is quite nice. Recruit troops, increase in troop strength. Who would have thought it? Train troops, increase in abilities. So that's abilities for your commanders. Kill man-eating tiger, gives an increase in fame. I can't remember the exact things about that. Assist land development, increase in supply, so that's kind of like your morale as well in there. And then research weapons give you special abilities, but they're usually only for one stage, so when I have been playing it, or the last few times I have played it, I more focus on beefing up my generals for the end game. But the great thing is you can play it however you want to. And then choosing a policy is not a contest, and there is no right or wrong answer. That is true. Even if you were to objectively pick what you think is the worst all the way through, you would still be fine. Just probably wouldn't be as optimal as you might like. Choose tactics, so they're all presented by different commanders. Sometimes they're at odds of each other, other times the Jugalion's given 3 different ones and they're just presented by different people. And then you get to see like the battle map and stuff before you go into the stage, or how units are going to line up, which is all very cool because it allows you to start thinking about it beforehand. In fact, choosing the tactics is probably more important than choosing the policy. And then we have all this stuff with basically how combat features. So real-time progress. One unit consists of 5 squadrons, so 5 like individual blocks of units, and they get split out depending on if you get attacked by more than one unit. High morale decides the game, that is true. Morale is basically the only important bit of the game. And then backup effects decide the strength of soldiers. Soldiers are stronger when they choose to fight close than when they fight separately. This is called the backup effect. The triangle mark appearing above soldiers becomes brighter as the effect increases. Oh, so that's what that's for. It's better to choose tight formations for units that fight hand to hand and take a... See, I did not know that. Yes, I've never read this manual. Because you can run around and hit enemy units, but I never really understood what it was for, and I guess it is for breaking up that backup effect, right? It must be, for like breaking through the enemy lines and that kind of thing. Yeah, army view, battle view, officer view. Yeah, I know all of that. That's good. Which Dynasty Warriors is it? It is 3, so it would have been 2 that I played. And there's Lubu. Not in the game. Although he's not in the game either. And technically those 3 are, but she's kind of not, but she also is. Anyway. Army view, special abilities. Officer view is when you can control the officer themselves. Hoping it's going to say something about how you use the officer. What it does. I'm going to run out of time here. So it's going to cut off in a second. Wow, this is going to be a long video. Anyway, let's carry on. So, order of combat. So they start, they engage, select units on screen as the situation demands, such as when enemies are discovered. Select a unit, toggle between with L or L1 or R1, press the X button, see the whole battlefield. You can move the units on the battlefield as well, which is really cool. They did lots of really cool, innovative stuff with this that I'm hoping I'm going to show off when we get into it. Then we get to enter combat. So let me see if I can get that in focus. When your unit moves within attack range of an enemy unit, you will begin combat. When the enemy has more than one unit, your unit will split up into then fighting squads. There will be a mark over the chief commander during the combat. You can move the mark to basically use other commanders. So like how Zhang Fei will have Lulu in his army. You don't have to just use Zhang Fei. You can use Lulu if you want, and then use her abilities. Show your skills. So this is the bit I need to know because I never know. I just sort of thrashing people around like I would have done in Dynasty Warriors. It seemed to work okay though, I will say. You can control the commander's movements with the directional buttons or the left analog stick in the officer view. Keep pressing directional buttons to accelerate, let it go to stop. Did not know that. If you don't do anything the commander decides on his own to start fighting, press the X button to make the commander shake off nearby units with his or her weapons. Press the X button repeatedly to help a confused unit quickly recover. So I did know that about the confused unit, but it doesn't really sound... You've not actually really told me what that does. Make the commander shake off nearby soldiers. But you've not told me how that helps. Yes, that's the other thing. Yeah, you can press circle to pick your special ability, and then X to use it, choose the area. I already know that. That is... and then this is just changing formations, moving your units on the battle map view, conditions of victory, or moment of victory. Yeah, it's usually to defeat the enemy commander, or something like that, or take something. And then we've got one for siege, how you would conduct siege battles. Castle walls are a little bit painful, and lots of climbing of walls and throwing rocks on people. Like, the cinematics are pretty cool, but ultimately it's not the best. It's okay, but it's not the best. Naval battles are also okay. The ships kind of join together when they meet, and then you have your own little battles going on the ships. Not all that cool, but still. Oh, nice, we got all the troop classes as well. And promotions of troops. I should have got my more zoomed in lens, I think, for this. Yeah, foot, spear, bow, crossbow, cavalry. Where's horse archers? Horsebow, sorry. Light sword, archers, horse and elephant. Troops are promoted and morale increase when the experience of the commander increases or the technology of your forces increase. The name of troops will change with promotion, and fighting capacity will increase, but the basic equipment such as bow, horse remains unchanged. Oh yeah, because you do get heavy foot and all that, to be fair. Now I remember. And then we have the different formations with a bit of an explanation as to what they do. I'll probably actually have to have a look at that while I'm playing the game, because quite frankly I just picked the one that I thought was best rather than having any understanding as to what each of them did. We then have special abilities. Oh, okay, so this is where they are classified. Two kinds of special abilities: strategic and magical strategic abilities. So a general, you just use a strategic. Warlord uses magical, and a warlord general. So the warlord general is pretty good, but don't sort of have like full. I guess like can have full progression to all of the really good later on spells and that kind of thing. So we have Jules, which is really nice. Volley, makes sense. Iron Wall, which is like a run with shields, and then there's one that's his Rush, which is the guys with spears or swords, I think. Battle Cry temporarily weakens enemy soldiers and reduces morale. I say morale is very important. And Rally, which does increase morale by quite a lot, and it's mainly the characters like Liu Bei and Cao Cao that have that one. And then magical abilities, so there's Fireball, Lightning, there's Fissure, I think it's called as well. Ice Storm, there's quite a few on here, to be fair, and they're all like very cool. So yeah, definitely worth seeing. And then soldiers can become like confused or disorientated after sustaining like quite heavy damage, or after like a really good battle cry, that kind of thing. So lots of things in there. Some combat hints. Why can't I move? What's this? Gather dispersed soldiers and run into the enemy. Yeah, so you can like summon your soldiers to you, and then you can do like a mini charge, which is quite cool. It kind of helps you like get a bit of an advantage as well, rather than just running around and whacking people. But you've got to have the troops to do it. Keep the supply compound from invasion. One of the key things, you take away the supplies, heavy morale penalty for the whole army, either yours or your enemies, so you have to defend that at all costs, basically, as well as whoever your general is for the fight as well. Why can't I move? Yeah, so you can get yourself stuck on the scenery and that kind of thing, which we'll go into. I'm sure it will happen while I'm playing through it. Attack a unit with more than one unit. You can pincer attack enemies on the main battlefield. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. Deliberately confuse the enemy. Yep, confused is good. Do more damage, that kind of thing. And when you get attacked by magic... Oh yeah, Iron Wall. There's Iron Wall on here. Sorry, Iron Wall stops magic abilities. So it's like very few of them have a counter which, when they deploy, and sometimes actually, if you're being really strategic, you use a less powerful magic spell in order to get the enemy to use up their Iron Wall, and then you use your more powerful one to do more damage. Bait them into using an Iron Wall. But yeah, there you go. I mean, ultimately it doesn't really matter if you've got a full suite of magic ready to go anyway. And then, oh, there is some officer information here as well actually, which is quite interesting. So fame affects the number of troops in the commander's unit and the kinds of formations. Also increases when an enemy commander with high honour is forced to retreat. A 1 point increase in honour equals approximately 100 new soldiers. That's cool. And then, yeah, alright, fair enough. Nothing else in there I think I'm interested in. And then we have it in Polish? I don't know, don't even know. Yeah. Looks like a Scandinavian language. Swedish, maybe. Yeah, anyway, interesting. And there you have it. Or you could also play G1 hockey as well. Jockey. Oh, anyway, yes. There we have it. That was actually far more comprehensive than I thought. But I'm very glad that I took the time to go and get a new copy with the manual. You can pick up Kessen 2 for very cheap nowadays. It's not very expensive. I think this one cost me £5. You can get one. You can get just the discs for like £2.50. Get one without a manual for like £3.50, £4 off eBay. So someone's got to pay for delivery with that as well. So clearly no one's really making any money off this. But hopefully you will agree that it is well worth the £5.50-ish that I paid for it. And yeah, there we go. So that's been it. That's Kessen 2. What do I think how the game is going to go based on my nostalgia glasses? I think it was absolutely revolutionary for its time. I still feel like that, and actually going through it, I don't think I'm going to feel any different. I think I might like it just as much, maybe for other reasons nowadays, more for the goofy cutscenes and that kind of thing. But I guess we will find out. Back in the day, I would, and I've always said that it's probably one of my favourite games. So I think, yeah, it's easily going to be in the like 9 out of 10 category. So let's see if it can still get into that ballpark, judging against modern sensibilities. If it can get anywhere from an 8 upwards, I would be extremely happy with them. And by far, I think it's the best of the 3 Kessen games. Not just because I prefer the time period, like the historical period, but also because I think the gameplay is just better refined and definitely still has that strategic element that Kessen 3 kind of loses, but it's more comprehensive than Kessen 1. So, yeah, there you have it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Feel free to watch my playthrough, it's already up, or wait for it to come out, and then, yeah, see what I think about it in the review. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.